We had to pay for your care somehow, Emlem said when I discovered the scars. But the fertility clinic revealed she'd forged consent for 8 retrievals while I was in a coma, selling 96 eggs for $200,000. The buyers had already had children. When DNA tests confirmed, the DNA tests confirmed 12 children existed with my genetic material. 12 babies born to strangers while I lay unconscious, 12 pieces of my future stolen and sold by the woman who gave me life. My name is Sophia Martinez, and I'm sitting in a fertility clinic learning that my mother harvested and sold my eggs like crops while I fought for my life in a coma. The accident happened when I was 24. A drunk driver ran a red light, T-boning my car at 60 miles per hour. I remember the sound of crushing metal, then nothing for 4 months. For months of darkness while my body lay suspended between life and death, machines breathing for me, tubes feeding me, my family keeping vigil. When I woke up, everyone called it a miracle. Mom was there, tears streaming down her face, clutching my hand. My baby girl, she'd sobbed. I never left your side. I would have done anything to bring you back. Anything, as it turned out, included selling my reproductive future to the highest bidder. The recovery was brutal. Learning to walk again, talk again, remember who I was. Physical therapy, speech therapy, cognitive rehabilitation. Mom was there through it all, encouraging me, supporting me, telling me how she'd maxed out credit cards and mortgaged the house to pay for my care. Insurance only covers so much, she'd explained when I worried about the bills. But don't you dare feel guilty. I'd sell everything I owned to save you. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She'd sacrificed so much, aged 10 years and 4 months, dedicated every moment to my recovery. When I noticed the small scars on my lower abdomen during a shower, she had a ready explanation. They had to do some emergency procedures, she said quickly. Internal bleeding from the accident. The doctors can explain better. But my trauma surgeon, Dr. Williams, looked confused when I asked. You had internal bleeding, yes, but we repaired that through the main incision. These other scars. He frowned, studying them. These look like laparoscopic incisions. Recent ones. Did you have any procedures during recovery? Not that I remember, I said, though remembering anything from that time was challenging. Let me check your complete medical records. Sometimes procedures get done while patients are in comas that aren't well documented. I didn't think about it again for months. I was focused on recovery, on reclaiming my life. I'd been in my 2nd year of law school before the accident, engaged to my college sweetheart David. Both were waiting for me, school holding my spot, David wearing his ring faithfully despite my months of absence. Life slowly returned to normal. Or so I thought. The first sign something was wrong came when David and I started trying for a baby 2 years after my recovery. Month after month, nothing. My gynecologist, Dr. Patel, ran tests. Sophia, this is unusual, she said, studying my ultrasound results. Your ovarian reserve is significantly depleted for someone your age. Have you ever donated eggs or undergone fertility treatment? No, never. She frowned. Your hormone levels and follicle count are consistent with someone who's undergone multiple egg retrievals. Are you sure? I think I'd remember that, I said, but a cold dread was building. Dr. Patel pulled up my medical history. Those scars you mentioned, they're definitely from laparoscopic procedures. And looking at your hormone patterns. She turned the screen toward me. See these dips in your estrogen levels? They correspond with the months you were in the coma. Sophia, I think someone harvested your eggs while you were unconscious. The room spun. That's impossible. I would have had to consent. My parents would have told me. Let me make some calls, Dr. Patel said grimly. If eggs were harvested from you without proper consent, we need to find out where they went. The investigation that followed shattered everything I believed about my mother. Dr. Patel found the trail through medical record requests. 8 separate procedures at a high-end fertility clinic across town, all performed while I was comatose. The records showed my consent, signatures that were clearly forged, forms filled out in handwriting I recognized as my mother's. They harvested 12 to 15 eggs each time, Dr. Patel explained, reviewing the documents with me and David. That's 96 eggs total, sold through their donor program at $25,000 per cycle. That's $200,000, David finished, his face pale. I drove to my parents' house in a rage, so cold it felt like calm. Mom was in the kitchen, making dinner like any normal day. Sophia, I wasn't expecting you. Stay for dinner. Explain this, I said, slamming the fertility clinic records on the counter. Her face went through several expressions: surprise, fear, then defiance. I don't know what you're talking about. 8 procedures, Mom. 96 eggs. $200,000. While I was in a coma. Dad walked in then, saw the papers, saw our faces. What's going on? Mom sold my eggs while I was dying, I said flatly. We had to pay for your care somehow. Mom exploded. Do you have any idea what 4 months in the ICU costs? The experimental treatments? The specialists? Insurance covered nothing. So you sold pieces of me? They're just eggs, she screamed. You produce new ones every month. It's not like I sold your organs. You sold my children. They're not children, they're cells. Mom's mask of maternal concern finally shattered completely. And yes, I'd do it again. You're alive because of what I did. Those eggs saved your life. The medical bills totaled $500,000, Dad said quietly. Insurance covered about half. We were drowning, Sophia. The house was gone, credit destroyed. Then your mother found this option. You knew. I turned to my father, the betrayal doubling. I found out after the 3rd procedure. By then, he wouldn't meet my eyes. We were desperate. You were dying. The doctors said expensive treatments might help. Show me the bills, I demanded. They couldn't. Because while some money had gone to medical bills, the records revealed a different story. New cars in the garage. A kitchen renovation done 6 months after my accident. A cruise taken while I was in rehab. They'd spent perhaps $50,000 on my care and pocketed the rest. We deserved something for our suffering, Mom said when confronted with the evidence. Do you know what those 4 months were like for us? Watching you lie there, not knowing if you'd wake up? We earned that money. You sold my future children and bought a BMW, I said, numb with shock. You can have other eggs. No, I can't. The procedures damaged my ovaries. I'm nearly infertile because of what you did. For the first time, Mom looked genuinely shocked. That's not possible. The clinic said it was safe. Safe when done properly, with spacing, with proper hormone support, Dr. Patel had explained. 8 retrievals in 4 months? That's assault on the reproductive system. I hired a lawyer that day. Criminal charges were filed: fraud, assault, identity theft. The civil suit against both my parents and the fertility clinic began immediately. But the real horror was yet to come. The fertility clinic, facing massive liability, provided their donor records. My eggs hadn't just been sold. They'd been marketed as premium. Ivy League graduate student, pre-law, athletic, musical, no family history of genetic illness. The buyers had paid extra for my superior genetics. 12 couples had successfully had children using my eggs. 12 children existed in the world with my DNA, being raised by strangers who thought they'd received legitimate donor eggs. We can't contact the families, my lawyer, Patricia Stone, explained. The donations, while fraudulent, resulted in living children. The legal complexities. I have 12 biological children I'll never know, I said numbly. They could be anywhere. There's more, Patricia said gently. 3 of the purchasing couples have reached out. They want to meet you. The first meeting was with Sarah and Tom Kingston. They'd struggled with infertility for 10 years before using donor eggs, my eggs. Their twin daughters, Emma and Olivia, were 2 years old. They had my eyes, my nose, my stubborn chin. We're horrified about what happened to you, Sarah said, tears streaming. We thought you were a willing donor. A generous young woman helping others. They're not responsible, I told David later. They're victims too. But seeing those little girls. They're your daughters, he said quietly. Biologically. But not legally. Not emotionally. They have parents who love them. But God, David, they looked just like my baby pictures. 2 other families reached out. One had a son named Marcus, 18 months old, who had my distinctive birthmark. Another had a daughter, Lily, who was already showing my musical aptitude at 3 years old. All wanted some form of contact. Terrified I'd try to claim their children, but also feeling their children deserved to know their biological mother. The criminal trial was swift. The evidence was overwhelming: forged signatures, financial records, the clinic's complicity in accepting obviously fraudulent consent forms. Mom was convicted on all counts: assault, fraud, identity theft. 8 years in prison. Dad, who'd known but not actively participated, got probation. I'm sorry, he said after the verdict. I should have stopped her. I was just so scared of losing you, and she said it was the only way. You lost me anyway, I replied. Just differently. The civil suit against the clinic resulted in a settlement I can't disclose, but it was enough to ensure I'll never worry about money again. Not that it mattered. No amount could buy back my fertility or erase 12 children I'd never raise. Mom's sentencing was the hardest part. Even facing prison, she remained defiant. "I saved your life," she said in her allocution. "Those eggs were going to waste while you lay dying. I made them valuable. I gave 12 families children they desperately wanted. How is that wrong?" "You stole my choice," I replied from the witness stand. "You took away my ability to have children of my own. You created human beings from my DNA without my knowledge or consent. You turned my body into a commodity while I was helpless. I'm your mother. Your body came from mine. I had the right." "No," the judge interrupted. "She stopped being your property the moment she was born. What you did was a violation so profound it defies comprehension. You've created a web of ethical and legal complexities that will affect dozens of lives for generations." As they led Mom away, she turned to me one last time. "Those children exist because of me. Someday you'll thank me." I haven't spoken to her since. Dad sends letters I don't open. The 3 families stay in touch, sending photos and updates about children who are mine but not mine. I've met them a few times, surreal afternoons watching my genetic offspring play while calling other women mommy. David and I are trying IVF with my few remaining eggs, but the chances are slim. The damage from 8 procedures in 4 months was extensive. We're considering adoption, trying to make peace with a future different from what we'd planned. "Do you regret meeting them?" David asked after our last visit with Emma and Olivia. "The kids?" "No," I said, though it hurt. "They deserve to know where they came from. And their parents are good people who love them. But it's hard seeing what could have been." What could have been? That's the phrase that haunts me. Could have had children when I was ready. Could have chosen donation if I wanted. Could have known my biological children. Could have trusted my mother. Instead, I have scars, physical ones on my abdomen, emotional ones on my soul. I have 12 children in the world who will grow up knowing their biological mother was violated to create them. I have parents who saw my unconscious body as a resource to be mined. But I also have truth. Justice. The knowledge that what happened to me led to stronger regulations on fertility clinics, better protections for comatose patients. My case became a cautionary tale in medical ethics classes, a reminder that consent can't be bought, sold, or forged. Mom thought my eggs were just cells, renewable resources she had the right to harvest. She learned that nothing about our bodies is just anything. Every piece of ourselves we share, blood, organs, eggs, sperm, carries profound weight. The choice to share them is sacred, personal, inviolate. She stole that choice from me, created life from my theft, and called it love. But love doesn't drug you and sell pieces of you. Love protects, honors, respects. Love holds your hand through comas without calculating your worth in eggs. I'm learning to live with the strange reality she created. A mother to 12, a mother to none. The children thriving with families who cherish them is perhaps the only good to come from this horror. They're loved, wanted, innocent of the crime that created them. Sometimes I dream of them. 12 faces with my eyes, my smile, my genetics scattered across the country. In the dreams, they know me, call me by name, understand the complicated truth of their existence. In reality, I'm just a nice lady who sends birthday cards and looks familiar in a way they can't quite place. That's my mother's true crime, not just stealing my eggs, but creating a constellation of lives forever connected yet apart, bound by DNA but separated by law, love, and the lies that brought them into being. But they exist. Despite everything, 12 pieces of me exist in the world, loved and thriving. It's not the motherhood I'd have chosen, but it's the one my mother's betrayal created. And maybe somehow that's enough.